What's going on, everybody? I am Dane Martinez, and this is another episode of the Action Network's Expert's Guide to Live Betting. And today, we're talking about how to live bet golf with my guy, Collin Wilson. Collin, what's going on today, man?
I'm actually live betting golf as we are recording this. So if I happen to spit out names like Taylor Moore or Tom Kim, that's because I'm live betting them. So yeah, live betting golf is one of my most favorite things in the world.
Okay, so that gets into my first question. You say you're live betting now, but my question would be over the course of 4 days, Collin, when is kind of the sweet spot on when to get guys? Is it believing in somebody that's making a move on a Friday? They call Saturday moving day. Or do I just wait until the back nine on Sunday and get everyone who's not the current leader at 15-1?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Is generally when you have a big name like Sung J M or a Tony Finau in the pole position, it's going to create a lot of value on everybody else and not a lot of value on those golfers. And it's going to be hard to get a number on them. So what the goal should be is you need a budget going into a PGA event. Now, if you want to hit somebody beforehand, say a long shot, which is the most suggested thing to do, then you want to get placement on that. If you think that he's going to make the cut and he's going to be around for a while, that's when you would want to take a pre-tournament bet and leave the rest of the guys for, live betting. And I think you should have a couple rules. And the first rule starts with setting a budget. I'm only going to spend 500 in live betting. I'm only going to spend 250 in live betting. Whatever your number is, don't exceed it, and try to build a plan where you can eclipse that. Like when you're finding 20 to 1s, 50 to 1s, 80 to 1s, eclipse that number by a monster margin so that if you do pick the winning golfer, it covers up all bets, but it covers your budget. So set a budget before you start live betting.
All right. So, would you recommend live betting people even before the cut? Because there's a chance they're not even going to be around for the weekend. Or do you kind of wait until Saturday for that? Like, talk to me. What's your kind of up and down throughout the 4 days?
Yeah, so both Thursday and Friday are the opening rounds. They have morning tee times, they have afternoon tee times, and then they flip on Friday. So Thursday and Friday are two completely separate things. When you have courses that are calm and cool and in great condition on the course in the mornings, then that Thursday group is going to fly to the top of the leaderboard. And then on Friday, that afternoon group from Thursday is going to be able to come in and get their scores up there too. So what you're doing on Thursday and Friday is you are constantly watching the leaderboard to say, oh, hey, this guy's -4 through his first 4 holes. I better look at what he's doing from an advanced stats perspective. And if you can nail down the correct advanced stats for that course, then you're going to be able to pick off long shots as they rise up the board. And remember, you're using your budget. Maybe it's only $20 per this golfer, or maybe it's $40 for that golfer, but you are not going to exceed the budget that you had in mind. So you just want to watch the guys that, yeah, maybe he was 150 to 1, but now that he's 100 to 1, he's showing you the advanced stats that you need. You want to bet him now, even though it wasn't the best number. That's not how you win at golf, because there's 200, it's 160 golfers, right? It's tough to pick the right one.
No, fair enough. And, we talk a little bit, even when live betting other sports, about some of the things that can happen that are outliers, anomalies that may mess with the algorithm, right? How do you find out in golf? What are some of the data and trends and data points that you look for to see who has maybe been unlucky in the first couple of rounds? Is there like looking for someone who had one blow up hole but is really playing better outside of that, someone who has lipped out 5 putts? How can you tell, like in other sports where maybe the player is doing a little bit better than the algorithm may expect?
Yeah, the two biggest key stats in live betting for golf are easily strokes gained tee to green and strokes gained putting. You already mentioned it. You see putts lip out. That's just bad luck. And that will reflect in the advanced numbers. So strokes gained, tee to green is how you do off the tee box. Did you reach the fairway? And then your greens and regulation percentage on your approach. Did you land on the green in this shot that you should have? Your second shot on a par 4, your third shot on a par 5. So, strokes gained tee to green shows you who is actually dominating this course, who is actually, getting off the tee box and getting onto the green. And then you look at strokes gained putting, because sometimes there are guys that are just on fire with their putter. They're one putting every single green. They're making it. And that is not sustainable. That is the one thing in golf that you cannot carry over from round to round, week to week, is strokes gained putting. Someone could be number 1 in strokes gained putting. The next day they could be dead last. Now, there are good putters in the field, but it's not like they're the number one putter, or it's not like they're the number 15 putter. They're just consistently good. But sometimes there's putters that they'll get down behind, outside the top 100, and they'll regress the next day because everybody that's played golf, if you get a second chance to putt a green within 24 hours, you're going to have a better putt. So there's always putter regression. So on that Thursday and Friday slate, you're specifically looking for guys that are strokes gained tee to green extremely high, like top 20, and strokes gained putting in the bottom 20. Those are the live bets that you're making throughout Thursday and Friday. Now, Dane, Saturday, I use that. The schedule is usually really light on Saturday. The cut's already been made.
Right.
There'll be a little bit of movement. There's jockeying up and down. That is your chance to cover up the bets that you made on Thursday and Friday. So there may be a name rising to the top, and you see it in the advanced stats. His tee to green is fantastic. His putting is fantastic, but he's still 3 shots off the lead. I got to get money down on this guy. He's going to be there on Saturday. So light betting on Saturday, covering up the holes that you didn't get. And then Sunday, it's a rodeo. The back nine is a rodeo. Just hope that you set yourself up in good position to have that winner.
Ride the wave. Now, let me ask you something here. We're talking about the expert's guide here to live betting, Collin Wilson and Dane Martinez. I've heard the term in golf on the PGA Tour a bunch of the Thursday Warrior, right? The name Harold Varner III comes to mind. These guys that are at the top of the leaderboard after round one frequently, but it seems like nobody believes that they have the stones to make it through all 4 rounds, and they kind of think they're going to fade away. Is that part of your handicapping live on a golf event as well, if guys have the kind of experience, the fortitude to see their name at the top of the leaderboard and maintain their game?
It is. And you don't know if it's conditioning. You don't know if it's you don't know if it's a confidence thing. You don't know if it's in their head. And the example I'll give is Sahith Theegala this year got to the very end to win a PGA tournament, and one of his last strokes cost him the entire tournament. And that's the thing where it's youth. It could be in his head. And then there's Tony Finau, who went forever with, always in the top 5 and never was winning a tournament. And then he rattled off 2 in a row. So you can't use him anymore. But those were names that I'm just completely ignoring on the board until they prove it to me. And if you beat me for my money, you beat me for my money. But if you've played 2 years of events and you haven't won one and you're always in the top 10, I'm just not going to bet on you. And, that used to be the case, I think, with a couple of players like Brooks Koepka never shows up to anything that's not a major, right? Generally, and plus if his brother's on tour, like they usually both get cut at the same time. So there's like certain circumstances you need to know off the course that may be playing into how they want to play on the course, right? You look at a prime example of what happened at the Open this year. There were a couple golfers that got cut early. Why? Because they wanted to make a 30-minute drive over to St. Andrews and start getting prepared for the following week. So you have to know these things before you live bet. But generally, the rule of thumb is you see good tee to green, you see poor putting. That's somebody you might want to bet on for the rest of the way.
All right, so let me ask you, just to get out here on this, what are some of the other things you are looking at, like when you're watching a golf event, right? Because if I'm watching football or basketball, I kind of have certain things that raise an alarm for me, raise a flag for me, whether it's a 17-2 run in a basketball game, right? Whether it's a weather change or a game script change in the NFL. What are some of the things that trigger you while watching a PGA event or a live event, I guess, to be able to say, this is an opportunity to bet live?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, it goes down to wind. We're back to wind again, but wind plays such a critical factor in golf. And unlike, I think, football, when you get precipitation, it actually helps the offense. When you get precipitation in the golf, then you're looking for guys that know how to aim at the flag stick and just hit it straight to it and score. And what you want to look at there is birdies per round. Guys that can absolutely nail it right on the flag stick. Why? Because it's wet, and when it hits the green, it's not going to move very much. So it's like playing lawn darts and just trying to get it right there. And then wind, you have to know your wind players. And, unfortunately, there's some stats out there on PGA that'll show you who's good from, deep rough, who's good from wind perspective. You just have to know those names. And, when courses get over 20 miles an hour, it becomes a huge factor.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think about that when it comes to horse racing, right? And so we're not going to know the weather forecast on Sunday necessarily on a Wednesday when you may be betting the event for the first time. So definitely take a gander at the weather, see who is getting lucky or unlucky, know those data points like strokes gained, tee to green, strokes gained, putting, and also know who kind of has that experience and can kind of come on late in rounds instead of guys that don't have that battle-tested piece on their resume. Well, for my guy, Collin Wilson, I am Dane Martinez, the Spittin' Statistician. Thanks for joining this episode, The Expert's Guide to Live Betting Golf. We'll be back next time giving you more rules of thumb on how to bet some other live sports right here on the Action Network YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe, unless, of course, you're allergic to money.